Fifth canto, chapter 9, text 46. Yes.
46.
Shri Shuka Vacha.
Shri Shuka Vacha.
Athaivam Idito Rajan Sadaram Vidashaya Hari Svam Prasthanam Akarnya Abhinanditaha Shri Shuka Vacha. Athaivam Idito Rajan Sadaram Vidashaya Hari Svamupasthanam Akarnya Rahatan Abhinanditaha Shri Shuka Vacha. Athaivam Idito Rajan Sadaram Vidashaya Hari Svamupasthanam Akarnya Rahatan Abhinanditaha
Shri Shuka
Vacha.
Athaivam Idito Rajan Sadaram Vidashaya Hari Svamupasthanam Akarnya Rahatan Abhinanditaha
Shri Shuka Vacha. Shri Shukadev Goswami said, Atha, thereafter, Evam, in this way, Iditaha, being worshipped, and offered obeisances, Rajan, O king, Sa'adaram, with proper respect, Vidashaihi, by all the demigods, from the higher planetary systems, Hari, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Svamupasthanam, their prayer glorifying Him, Akarnya, hearing, replied, unto them, the demigods, Abhinanditaha, being pleased. Translation. Shri Shukadev Goswami continued, O King Parikshit, when the demigods offered their Lord their sincere prayers in this way, the Lord listened by His causeless mercy. Being pleased, He then replied to the demigods. Text 47. Shri Bhagavan Vacham Vitoham Mahasurashkrishta Matupashtana Vidyaya Atmaishvarya Samprim Pumsam Bhaktischayvayamayi. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O beloved demigods, you have offered your prayers to me with great knowledge, and I am certainly most pleased with you. A person is liberated by such knowledge, and thus he remembers my exalted position, which is above the conditions of material life. Such a devotee is fully purified by offering prayers in full knowledge. This is the source of devotional service to me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Another name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Uttama Shloka, which means that he is offered prayers with selected verses. Bhakti means Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, chanting and hearing about Lord Vishnu. Impersonalists cannot be purified, for they do not offer personal prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even though they sometimes offer prayers, the prayers are not directed towards the Supreme Person. Impersonalists sometimes show their incomplete knowledge by addressing the Lord as being nameless. They always offer prayers indirectly saying, you are this and you are that, but they do not know to whom they are praying. A devotee, however, always offers personal prayers. A devotee says, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Govinda and unto Krishna. That is the way to offer prayers. If one continues to offer such personal prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is eligible to become a pure devotee and return home back to Godhead. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Kristaya Bhutaya Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharya Nirvishesha Shnivani Vashtasi Zatarna. Shri Shukadeva Goswami continued, O King Parikshit, when the demigods offered the Lord their sincere prayers in this way, the Lord listened by his causeless mercy. Being pleased, he replied to the demigods. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O beloved demigods, you have offered your prayers to me with great knowledge, and I am certainly most pleased with you. A person is liberated by such knowledge, and thus he remembers my exalted position, which is above the conditions of material life. Such a devotee is fully purified by offering prayers in full knowledge. This is the source of devotional service to me. So here, of course, by the Lord Himself, one of the processes of devotional service, meaning offering prayers, is glorified, and immediately is specified how this should be done. Usually people offer prayers in a sentimental way. Practically when you study the prayers, in all even established religions, they are offered on a basis of some sentiment. And if they contain some knowledge, then it's very, very basic. Or you are the greatest, or you are the oldest. That's true. But there is no specification anymore because there is no knowledge. How great? How oldest? What does it mean? You know, any Christian you ask, who is the Father in heaven? Please, can you give me the form, name, address? You know, Prabhupada challenged like this. He said, our God, we can give you address, we can give you name, you can go and look. You know, can you give me address of your God? And the name, and the form, and anything, whatever. I mean, Father in heaven, that's already quite personal idea. Father cannot be something, big black box or something like this, like the Muslims have. You know, again, Muslims, Allah Akbar, God is great. We fully agree. You know, yeah, that was the challenge when devotees preached in the Middle East, occasionally captured by the Muslims and being almost executed immediately. That's the Muslim preaching. When you catch somebody who is not a Muslim, you shoot him. And it's established by Muhammad. Let's not be false about this, that this religion will be spread by fire and sword. So much for the Muslim pacifism. So, yes, and they always, you know, they put devotees on the wall already with the Kalashnikov in the hand. These accidents did happen. There was devotees who had to dig up their own grave, you know, and then stand there and wait for the shot to come. There were things happening which were very mysterious. You know, whoever preached in the Middle East was sooner or later exposed to such an incident. And then they come to you with challenging face and say it. Allah Akbar! And you always go, Allah Akbar! You know, and then the Muslims get confused. Why is he saying this? He's supposed to say, I hate Allah, or something like that. But he's supposed to say, Hare Krishna! We can say Allah Akbar, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There is some knowledge already contained. God is great. Certainly. We fully agree. As Prabhupada in his letters, you find it again, he says, we invite, amazingly, a letter to Suchanda Das, my good brother. I didn't know he ever had some Christian sentiments. I was associating with him for years, quite close. Just 2 brahmacharis for 2.5 years alone, living in one flat. That's quite close. But he never mentioned anything about Jesus. But in Prabhupada's letter, obviously, he had some issue with that. You know, how we can accommodate. And it was those days very popular amongst devotees. our GBC was also completely into Jesus. He was reading Bible, Mein Kampf, and Bhagavad Gita simultaneously. So so it was lectures were full of this Jesus this and Jesus that, and and this. So devotees were quite, because there was actually in the 60s a new picture of Jesus coming up. It was a poster which was hanging in every hippie community. It was, we were staying overnight in many hippie communities, so, I know that poster was everywhere. It showed Jesus as a hippie, because we had long hair, And it showed him, it was just a portrait of the face. It showed him with a good laughter. It was like, ha ha ha. That picture church never produced. They always, have this, with blood running down the face and someone sticking in her hat and nails in her hands. And this is picture of their guru. And they worship also like this. Here we offer and eat your body, symbolized in the little cookie or whatever. And he will drink your blood, symbolized in form of wine. Well, that was really good. That's a good part. Because I also stayed in priest places for 2 years while traveling on Sankirtan. And they put us always in a cellar. So there was either a ping pong table, which I liked, because I slept on a ping pong table always, or a huge wine cellar with very exquisite selected wines, Chateau 955, and then they offer. And here we drink your blood, whole bottle. That's the puja. Where is this in the Bible stated? Jesus said, and you will worship me by eating my body and drinking my blood. I don't know. I would like to meet a Christian who can produce a quote, please. Prabhupada said we should not study Bible. He said we should not study any religion. He said, just simply ask them, that's the preaching approach, what is your goal? What is the aim? What do you want by praying and by worshipping? What do you want to... And then they say, let's say, I want to go to heaven. Good. What is heaven? Let them come up. And you will very soon find out they really run quickly out of definitions. Because they don't have any. There's no knowledge backing up these prayers. And then we can comment from Vedic point of view. Never move from the Vedic grounds. Don't get in this, but in the Bible like this, and the Bible like that, and the Bible, they will produce one quote after another. Besides that, you are on a ground where you deal with the scripture, which was written, partially collected from all kinds of manuscripts 100 years after the departure of Jesus. Just imagine, we would get the first book being written not by Srila Prabhupada, but by some of his last surviving disciples, 100 years after his departure. So, just imagine, could you really trust this? I won't, because 100 years is enough to concoct anything in our whole world, Time, time is twisting your memories and filtering it through, and it's all biased. So how can you write? This is the Shastra. Already there. And then there is the Parampara. There is even an Ethiopian Bible, and then there is, and this gospel, and that gospel, and this thing, and that thing, and there is the gospel who is saying Jesus died in India, and he was actually married, and it was all these things, and it's endless speculations. We don't know. How do we know? So are we going to discuss on that ground? Prabhupada said, don't go there. Don't do that. There's no need to study anything as Bhagavad Gita and Prabhupada's books. And then you ask, what is your point? Same thing with Hindus. You are worshipping this, the good demigod and that, and Shiva and this and that, and Ganesh, and this. What do you want? Where do you go with that? What is your goal? I worship Lord Shiva because I want to become the most powerful and whatever. I worship Katyayani because I want a good husband. Right? There are people who don't worship Katyayani, and they maybe get even quite reasonable husbands. So how does that happen? Like Western people, they don't worship anything except their own belly. and they're getting things quite efficient. How come? Prabhupada said that's how the communists convinced people to be atheists. They drove in front of the church even, because Russian people are always in the church. And they came out, and they got just this body of Jesus. It's like, it melts on your tongue. I heard, I never tasted, but that's it. You go, and then they were hungry. And they came out of the church, and there was a truck full of bread, with the Bolsheviks, the first communists, standing on a truck, challenging them. So, you prayed for your bread in a church. Did you got some? No. Well, here, the communistic bread. Take it. Prabhupada immediately commented, these rascals never told them where they got the bread from. Of course, from the grain and from the field. Where is this coming from? From the rain and from all this. No, they didn't. So they ran out of bread too. There was no bread. Because Krishna said, okay, with this show, no bread. So prayers are supposed to be offered in knowledge, not sentimentally. And that's, Krishna confirms here, that's very pleasing to him. You know how great I am. You know why to worship me. And of course we know ultimately Krishna cannot be known, because he's Ananda Buddhivardhanam. He is always expanding in bliss, in knowledge, in greatness, in everything. He's a dynamic, expanding, force. And he's a dynamic, expanding person. Like we are dynamically imploding in a material world. Everybody's just, when you get old, everything is switching off, the brain, the memory, everything, you just become very nicely stupid. In the material world, it's usually like that. All people are not considered usually men of wisdom, especially not in this passionate society. In a Vedic times it's different, because all people are powered, first of all, by the tapasya training in the youth. It's very valuable. This brahmachari training is extremely valuable. And that sustains throughout the grihastha and throughout the whole process of human life. In grihastha ashrama you practice what you learned, and you see it happening in front of your eyes. You get emotional experience, not positive always, negative also. And by maturing like that, naturally vanaprastha arrives. And naturally sannyas. Prabhupada said it doesn't matter if you change your dress or not, or if you get a danda or not. Everybody should ultimately come to the sannyas level. That means no more expectation from this world, of nothing. No material expectation whatsoever. Understanding really the basis of this world, it is a temporary place. Not a false one, but still temporary. Prabhupada replaced the word false with temporary. And that's the difference between Mayavadi and the devotee. Devotee knows it's temporary. Prabhupada gives even an example. Devotee is also mourning when his friend dies, or somebody very dear. He's crying. But he knows inside it's very temporary. That's where the difference is. And it is. You feel so much sadness and this and loneliness. Prabhupada writes a whole letter about loneliness. How can you feel lonely? He said, I don't feel ever lonely. I came here to America completely alone, but I never felt lonely, because Krishna, my spiritual master, are always there with me. In form of the instructions, so how can you be feeling lonely? But Prabhupada recognized that feeling. He said, yes, it is there. However, it's of a very temporary nature. And that's how it is about feelings. They come and go. Sometimes they stay quite deep, especially these trauma things and very traumatized things. They are very deep actually, but still they are temporary. They just go again. And then another trauma comes, another thing, another shock. And at the end you are just shocked. Oh, how could this all happen to me in one lifetime? So things do happen, that's all. Yeah. And they usually come from a very unexpected direction. That's where the shock comes. We didn't really guess it could be like this. Your friend turning like this, or family members are really good in this. That's part of even Prabhupada's preaching, that family members will frustrate you. That's almost a law. Prabhupada describes actually in one letter, he says, old men are never popular. So they're always kicked out. Why? Because they cannot supply any pleasure anymore, really. Who is in ecstasy to see an old, teethless man sitting there, just not being able to do much, physically spoken at least. So there, Prabhupada said, therefore I was also kicked out by my family. And I took shelter of you. You take care of me so nicely, thank you very much. I mean, what an explanation, What a humility, He said, and you give me more as I need. Just read a letter he writes, Kakamuni is very nicely taking care of me. Three letters, broadcasted, everybody got to know that Prabhupada got a house. They rented a house for him. And it cost $600 a month. That's quite some money those days. And Prabhupada said, as a sannyasi, I shouldn't accept that. But the house is so suitable for my work. I hope you will not mind. I will accept that. I mean, by that time the woman had like 16 centers or 20 centers. $600 was not really that kind of burden, you could scrape it together, really. So, and then Prabhupada didn't stay long in a house like this. He was always traveling, So it was, to rent a house with Prabhupada, better you made the contract really short. Because he kept on moving. But I mean, informing his disciples, I hope you don't mind, I cost you $600, a month, As a sannyasi, I shouldn't take that. This is not good, but it's very nice for my translation work. It's very peaceful here, and it's very, very suitable, yes. Thank you very much. You can see how Prabhupada was accountable, how transparent he was. And those, I spoke to some of his servants, especially the servants, they had a feast with him all the time. Not only that they got a feast of the Maha, but Prabhupada, sometimes he looked at his servant and he said, he got rings. That was one of these things. Prabhupada, there's actually pictures, he has many rings on a hand. And some pictures he has no ring. Why? Because he always looked at Tamal or whatever, or Harisauri and said, you are looking at my ring, you like it? Because he knew exactly. You have to be so careful what you want from a Prabhupada. Because he immediately noticed. He had a total view of your heart and of your mind. So, it's really dangerous to be close to Prabhupada like this. So Sadhguru said, then Prabhupada, take it. See, when I see an airplane, Prabhupada flying, going, and suddenly pulling his tooth out of the mouth, in the middle of the flight. And Harisauri was next and he said, Prabhupada, you just pulled out your tooth. And Prabhupada, it wasn't sitting right. And then he put it down. Then he looked at Harisauri and he said, oh, you want to have it? Okay, just take it. So that tooth is Harisauri worshipping until today. There's a special altar for that. And he said, what a pity, it was full of prasada. It was such a cavity. He said, how could somebody lift at such a thing? It was just one big hole. So he said, unfortunately the prasadam I had to wash out. Otherwise I would worship it too. This was the servants. Prabhupada gave even the teeth. You want the tooth? Take a tooth. So it was so easy to follow, There was nothing of me and mine. There was nothing there. This was actually reproduced later on by his first followers, by the ISKCON gurus. I remember any time of this huge Vyasa Pujas, 1,000 disciples of Harikesha arriving. And immediately as the big, it was a festival, you cannot imagine. The cake was the size, you know this. Just the cake was half of this Oma. It was, I remember it was 3 tables together, it was one cake. And then he insisted after that first the godbrothers come. And then he cut the cake, and then he was distributing. And basically, the whole cake went out, There was hardly anything left for him. Same thing happened to Prabhupada. They offered him a cake on Vyasa Puja, distributed Maha, completely forgetting, actually we didn't give him any cake. And the cake was gone. And Prabhupada was quite cool about it. Prabhupada, we ate all your cake! Prabhupada said, that's okay. Arina Prasad, sorry. So this cakes, and then after that came a session which was a standard from the first Vyasa Puja Hare Krishna celebrated, up to the last one, whatever, that all the godbrothers had to come to his room. And then there was all the Vyasa Puja gifts, which by the number of around 2,500 or 3,000 disciples, it's quite some gifts. The room was full with all kinds of things. And then basically standard things. Knitted socks, knitted hats, jumpers. We were fully dressed. Everybody. It was like a big shopping market, And he was always, hey, you need it, And he got sometimes funny gifts. I remember my godbrother Ketaraj once, because they had a funny relationship. A little bit like father-son relationship. So he got a gummy duck. I remember. One of these ducks you put in a bathing tub, it goes meek, meek, Some young child gave it to him probably as an offering, just a puja offering. So Ketaraj got a gummy duck, and everybody, I had hats always, and shawls, and socks, and everything was distributed practically, totally. Prabhupada did sometimes the same thing. Later on, when he was well equipped, he opened the cupboard and it was full of these silk dhotis and kurtas, and because it was saffron, and his servants were quite often sannyasis, and this is, you need more kurta and this. It was, I think, sometimes difficult because Prabhupada was relatively small size, so I don't know how the big guys were dressing, but Prabhupada immediately transferred further, gave back. I remember the first Vyasa Puja of Hare Krishna in Germany. He got just one old suitcase. He didn't have many disciples by that time. It was just one old suitcase. And he was sitting in his little room, little office, and he opened that suitcase. It was full of junk, far out gifts. And I was standing there, and he opened it, and there was this knife. You push a button, out comes the thing, And he kind of pushed the button and was going, oof! And he gave me the knife. He said, I don't think I need this. So I got the knife, the Maha knife, this snipping knife, like this. I mean, this was the first Vyasa Puja, it was very, very basic. But the principle is there, that you offer and you get it in return. Like it used to be, that a certain age, where there was a whole pieces of land being offered to Vishnu. Piles of gold. What do you think what happened to that? Nothing. The land, Vishnu didn't came and confiscate the land and then there was a big hole in earth or whatever. No. He immediately blessed and gave it back. What does he need the land for? A pile of gold. He's God. He doesn't need anything. So it's a kind of game, yes. You offer and you get the Maha back. Because the only thing Krishna doesn't have, and that's the real offering, is the volunteer desire of the conditioned soul to offer it to him. There Krishna doesn't have. And that we see painfully manifested sometimes when devotees are leaving and taking strange course of actions. That's painful. Because they have a free will, there is a minute free will, you can mess up your life really nicely if you want to. Krishna will give you the chance. He will encourage you even, if he has to. If really you push it, he will give you a conviction. Yes, this is good for me. Let's do it my way. Yes, yes. Therefore sometimes the stupidity is so professional in the material world. It's superhuman. The famous example of the man who cuts himself, from the tree on the wrong side, sitting on the very same branch, which he's cutting himself off. How more stupid you can be. But this is the standard action of a conditioned soul. Always just cutting